What's happening in the Netherlands is a reflection of a socio-political struggle that's going on at a very deep level between worldviews that are truly in opposition. And the Dutch farmer protest, in my estimation, is what would you say? It's a microcosm of a much larger battle that's raging and will continue to rage for the next while.
You know, the financial and political gain that they will get when they are able to seize these farmers' land. Our country is a small country, but 80% of it is made up out of farmland. So imagine what the state could do with that land, you know, what type of benefits that would bring them. And of course, you know, they're happy to push this agenda of virtue, like, oh, look at us protecting nature.
The Netherlands has long been a global agricultural powerhouse, and farms there have often been managed by the same families for generations. Home to some 17.5 million people, the country is Europe's largest meat exporter and the world's second-largest exporter of agricultural produce, after the US. Last year, farmer protests erupted throughout the Netherlands, riding a wave of rural anger at government plans to drastically halve nitrogen emissions by downsizing and closing farms. In the face of the farmer and nitrogen crisis, Dutch agriculture and environmental experts are calling for a change to the food system in a way that both reduces nitrogen emissions while addressing the financial and livelihood concerns of farmers, many of whom are in debt.
A substantial proportion of the farmers are now done with negotiating. They feel that they've been pushed to the wall, that they've done everything they possibly could, and that there's nothing left but the opportunity to say no. I mean, one of the things that struck me about the Dutch farmers' protest immediately was that I know farmers, and I know that modern farmers are very sophisticated, and they're also very hardworking, and they don't have time to muck around. And the machinery, for example, that they're using, the tractors and so forth, to bring to the protests is extremely expensive machinery, and it's not generally within the easy means of a farmer to put their machinery to any other use than productive use on the farm. And I know Dutch farmers are hyper-productive, maybe the best in the world, or certainly among the best. And so my sense was that if the Dutch farmers are upset, a substantial proportion of them, they're like a canary in the coal mine. There's probably something to be upset about. But what percentage of the Dutch farmers do you think are in a situation where they're seriously done with negotiation? And then what does it mean for people in a peaceful polity to be done with negotiation?
I think the Dutch farmers are being targeted for two reasons. One of them being that our farmers, like you said, they're so effective. You know, they're such good. We're the second largest exporter of agricultural products, and we're such a tiny country. You would think that this sector is celebrated by our government. The fact that it's not, the fact that it's under attack is, to a rational mind, just completely insane, really. You know, it's insane. And so you have to start thinking, what is the real reason that they're doing this then? Why would you start coming after farmers in a time of food scarcity? And that's where you come to the question of intent. And I know that people find that to be a scary question. I understand that people are like, oh, well, this is, you know, we live in a liberal democracy. We're in the Western world. Our government would never want us to be hungry. Our government would never want us to starve. Well, I think that that is plain wrong. I think if you control the food supply, you control the people. And our government knows that just as well as China does.
The Dutch government aims to reduce nitrogen emissions 50% by 2030 by downsizing and closing farms, sparking a wave of farmer protests and a surprising win for a new agrarian political party. Agricultural and environmental experts are calling for the need to introduce food system solutions that both address farmer livelihoods while tackling the climate and environmental crises. As they say in Dutch, you can't be green if you are in the red, says Leonard Fuchs, an agriculture researcher at Wageningen University and research in the Netherlands. The European Union has called on the Netherlands to clean up its act and meet Brussels' guidelines on nitrate pollution, conservation, greenhouse gas emissions, as well as rules and regulations on air and water quality.
The part of the reason that the Dutch government is down the necks, on the necks, let's say, of the farmers is because environmentalist activists have taken the Dutch government to court to force them to comply with European Union top-down environmental apocalypse-oriented European Union regulations that are aimed at reducing, let's say, carbon output, but also reducing other forms of pollution. And now nitrogen pollution can be a problem if excess fertilizer enters waterways and so forth. It can cause algal blooms And obviously it's the case that we want to pollute the least amount possible while growing food. So, but why do you think, like, first of all, have I got that story right? Has the Dutch government itself been cornered by the courts? And is that a consequence of European Union pressure?
Okay, yeah, I think that there is not one Dutch farmer right now that is happy with the Dutch government, the current Dutch cabinet. So that's important to note. It is definitely a fight from the Dutch farmers against the government, or the other way around, I should rather say. Everybody is upset, and of course, there are differences within the farmers. There are people, I would say the most important split between the farmers that exist right now is the group of farmers that is willing to compromise, that is willing to talk to the government and say, okay, we'll still negotiate, and the group that is completely done with that. So I think the most important split between those two groups is the group that accepts the narrative of the idea that there is a nitrogen crisis, so to say, and the group that says, no, there isn't. There is no nitrogen crisis. We have done everything that you have asked of us for the past, I don't know, well, at least 3 years now in terms of, reorganizing our businesses, doing everything that you asked of us, and you are still coming after us, and we are done.
Dutch government proposals for tackling nitrogen emissions indicate a radical cut in livestock. They estimate 11,200 farms will have to close, and another 17,600 farmers will have to significantly reduce their livestock. According to Dutch environmental organization Milieu Centraal, the country emits 4 times the European average per hectare. As other European countries also look to overhaul their agriculture sectors, Dutch farms have become a test case in navigating the vital politics of the green transition. Dutch farmers dealt a blow to Prime Minister environmental plans Wednesday, plowing up the political landscape to win elections that will shape the upper house of parliament.
The world's upside down when Dutch farmers are protesting and Canadian truckers take the political lead. I mean, something's seriously gone astray. Well, first of all, when Canada is even interesting and, on the political scene. And I would say the same thing in some sense about Holland. I mean, there are few countries I've ever visited that are more deeply civilized in the most positive possible sense than Holland. It's an absolutely amazing country. An incredible balance of beauty and freedom and order, and that's so difficult to attain, and broad public trust and all within that great acceptance of wide difference and wide range of individual potential for action.
We are being sold lies, we are being sold false premises, pretexts, and we are forced to debate within that circle of lies oftentimes, and it's the exact same thing with the Dutch farmers. That's why they're all these subjects are related to each other, because they're all a matter of, are we going to give up our freedom for a bit of convenience or for, those nice words that they try to sell us? And I think the answer should be absolutely not, but it's hard.
In the end, some Dutch agricultural researchers are looking to climate and environmental solutions that include the livelihoods and needs of local communities, and as a result, turning to agroecology and agroforestry. The farmers say they are being unfairly targeted by the still unfinalized proposals compared to sectors such as construction, industry, and transport. Government decision has led to a reduction in livestock farming, which has affected the income of many farmers in the Netherlands. Farmers argue that this decision is unfair to them. What are your thoughts about Dutch farmers' protest? Is this fair to the farmers who work really hard to provide us food to eat? Feel free to let us know in the comment section below. If you find this content interesting, then give this video a big thumbs up and make sure to hit that subscribe button below. See you in the next video.